And you're on the screen.
Okay, and Noha, let me know when you want me to start. Do I start now?
Please feel free to start. We're all here with you.
Okay, thank you so much. So okay, so I'm starting. Welcome everyone to the Internet Mosque session at the IGF in Saudi Arabia, Navigating Risks and Innovation in the Digital Realm. First, I would like to thank the forum and our host for their excellent organization and welcoming atmosphere. My name is Hadia El-Minyawi, Chief Expert at the National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt. However, I am here today in my capacity as a member of ISOC Egypt and chair of the Africa Regional at-Large Organization, AFRALO, at ICANN. I'm also a member of ICANN Security and Stability Advisory Committee. I'm an engineer by training and hold a Master of Science in Management and Leadership. Today, I will be speaking and co-moderating this session with my colleague, Mrs. Noha Ashraf Abdelbaqi, who is on site in Saudi Arabia. Mrs. Noha Ashraf is a support engineer at Dell, member of ISOC Egypt, and an instructor at the Pan-African Youth Ambassador IG. In today's session, we will be exploring the risks that accompany digital innovation, including cybersecurity threats, ethical dilemmas, and other emerging challenges. Our discussion will focus on strategies and frameworks for harnessing innovation while effectively managing and mitigating associated risks. We are honored to have with us today Dr. Maha Abdel Nasser, a distinguished member of the Egyptian Parliament. Dr. Maha is Vice President of the Egyptian Social Democratic Party and one of the founding members. She has been an executive member in the Salvation Front and has been elected as a member of the Supreme Council of the Egyptian Syndicate of Engineers. Dr. Maha holds an engineering degree, an MBA, and a PhD degree in political marketing. She's also a certified instructor at the American University in Cairo, the Arab Academy for Science and Technology, and the American Chamber of Commerce in Egypt. We are honored as well to have with us online today Mr. Caleb Ogundel, an accomplished internet public policy expert. Caleb is a dedicated volunteer with ISOC Nigeria and the Manitoba chapters, and currently serves as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Internet Society. Caleb chairs and coordinates the Nigerian School on Internet Governance, and was a former management lead of the Information Technology Unit for the University of Ibadan Distance Learning Center, and the project director at the African Academic Network on Internet Policy. He's also volunteer as an instructor. He's also an instructor at the African Network Operating Group. Caleb holds 2 master's degrees in computer systems and information science. Engineer Noha will be managing the queue, both on-site and online. We look forward to an engaging and insightful discussion. Thank you for joining us today. Without further delay, let me start with my first question to Dr. Maha Abdel Nasser. Dr. Maha, it's an honor to have you on site with us today on this session. And thank you for your time and effort and shared thoughts. My first question to you is, what are, in your opinion, what are the primary risks accompanying digital innovation?
Well, thank you very much for ISOC and for Internet Egypt. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be with all of you. And thank you for the audience for being here. Actually, when we are talking about the threats for the digital transformation or digital era, the first thing definitely we will get in our minds is the cybersecurity, which is the most important thing and the most aspect that a lot of people are thinking about. And again, the data privacy. We are all worried about our data and how we are visible to the world. Our data is now almost everywhere, and we cannot do anything about it. But there is another threat that I think people may be not thinking about it a lot, which is the dependency on the digital transformation, or having this technological dependency, which actually may cause things to be completely stopped if something happened, which we already have seen in the airports across the world. We couldn't think that a small bug can actually do all this harm to the people who are traveling, and made them delayed to the work, and got people to think really about what we are going to do if there is a shutdown in electricity, a shutdown in anything. We are so dependent on the technology now. And I think this is one of the major threats, risk, and challenge at the same time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maha, for this insight and actually pointing out the dependency on technology, and how a small bug, as you mentioned, could put the world on a halt. So I will follow up with a question. So in your opinion, how could we mitigate this?
It's very difficult to say, but of course, if you're talking about cybersecurity, all of us knows about the firewalls, taking all the precautions, which actually will not stop still the cyber attacks that we are seeing every day, everywhere across the world. It is just a matter of who is racing who can take the lead and somehow be able to avoid or attack. So it's kind of mouse and cat scenario, because all of the governments, all of the corporates, all of the organizations are just trying to avoid the cyber attacks, and at the same time the attackers are trying to do the cyber attacks. So I don't think that there is something that can be done, or there is a legislation for for instance that can help in that. For the data privacy, I guess we all know that we have the GDPR, and most of the countries are trying to follow or to do some legislations or acts similar to the GDPR, despite the fact that some of them are not really successful in that. For the technological dependence, I don't think that we cannot be dependent on technology anymore, but we have to find ways. We have to find some kind of alternative solutions if the technology failed us. We've been working without technology. We've been living without technology for centuries, but now we are so dependent. When we find that there is a problem with our phone, we panic. We feel that as if the world stopped. We cannot even remember how the life was before that. If the internet got down, we feel that we are in threat. So I don't think that we can really help it, because it's more of a feeling or a lifestyle that we cannot get away from it. But for the corporates, they have to find a way. They have to find alternative solutions. So when the technology fail, they have to mitigate it somehow. They have to have the traditional way as a backup if there is a problem, so you will not get everything stopped. This is how I see it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maha. And indeed, as you mentioned, maybe diversifying and maybe also depending on local or community systems or applications. I'm not sure, but maybe also there could be a role here for frameworks or developed maybe by governments or incentives provided by governments. But I will stop here and move to Caleb. And Caleb, I would like to also ask you in the same question. In your opinion, what are the risks accompanying digital innovation?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adia and Dr. Maha. Very interesting perspective from Dr. Maha. I must say that I do admire the way she approached the question. But first, one of the few things I did pick from our conversation was basically the fact that we can no longer do it without technology these days, right? And so because we can no longer do without technology these days, that means that we are stuck with it, right? And if you're stuck with it, we need to really find solutions, basically to some of those innovations and the risk that will follow. So one of the few things I did think while preparing for this panel session was first, we need to first of all start having what we call government-led initiatives. Some of those initiatives could also be based on legislation, regulatory frameworks, sandboxes where a company can also test innovation safely. Take, for example, we are now in the age of the AI, and people need to get some regulatory assurances that AI is not going to take over their life. So government need to start having regulatory sandboxes that can help them safely test some of the AI systems. I'm aware that the Singapore government has like a testing framework that allows companies to test AI systems while sharing insight into some risk and solutions as well. And we need to start having what I call cross-border collaboration mechanism across different spectrums. Now, basically, the entire idea of having open standards is because we want to have collaborations from different perspectives of technology innovation. And so it's good that the government, and not just the government, the civil society, and as well as the academia, start encouraging what we call cross-border collaboration mechanisms, where there will be a lot of international data sharing agreements for risk assessment, standards for global assessment for risk, global standards for risk assessment, and also trying to standardize frameworks for sharing some of the threats, cyber threats, and intelligence that we have across board. I'm also aware that you also Adia works in Egypt, where you guys take a lot of cyber threat intelligence very seriously. However, we cannot remove the fact that there are different types of cyber actors, bad actors that I would say, even when we look at the geopolitics of cyber threats, that are also interested in sabotaging some of the efforts of these open standards, cross border collaboration, just for their own benefit. So my encouragement basically at this point is that we should continue to have a lot of public-private partnerships. We should continue to have joint research initiatives between government, private sectors to manage some of this innovative risk that we do have. More importantly is to also have like very good funding model that supports even private organizations that are into some of these risk assessments. The reason why I'm saying this is, trust me, people will definitely go out of funding, but when they are doing some important work that has to deal with, take for example, national security, global security, and when it comes to some of these things, it's always good that we have government supporting them. We also have cybersecurity framework, knowledge base that also tries to support some of the things that they do as well. So I would just want to stop here so that I don't take so much of our time, and we can allow other speakers also contribute some of the inputs into what their thoughts are about innovation and risk assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. And I move to Noha, and I know that Noha also would like to speak about her thoughts about risks accompanying digital innovation. So Noha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hadia. So I believe the digital innovation race is way faster than building national strategies, than acquiring new digital skills, than drafting policies and good frameworks. So I believe that the primary risks that we'll have a bigger digital divide, a bigger digital gap between the privileged and less privileged technology users, because we already have half of the world population are still offline. So the more privileged people will who are well educated, who are equipped with the digital skills, who have already a good internet access and accessibility, they will be more privileged. On the contrary, people who are offline or who are lack of access, lack of digital skills, they're gonna be less privileged. And also, the vulnerable groups will be more vulnerable. Like it will be easier to attack women. Children will be more exposed to threats. So we need to understand and acknowledge these risks and work upon them, so we can like try to like be more relevant in this digital innovation race. And yeah, thank you. Back to you, Hadia.
Thank you so much, Nuha. And you bring also a different perspective here, where you talk about vulnerabilities of some groups, and how those groups could be even more vulnerable now and be exposed to digital attacks. And with that, I would like to move back to Dr. Maha and ask her about this and what Noah just pointed out, that technology is definitely moving faster than any frameworks or policies being drafted. And as it moves forward, the digital gap widens, and unprivileged people become even more vulnerable. So what can we do actually to protect those vulnerable groups? So Noha mentioned women, and we don't want to spell out specific groups, but how could we actually protect those vulnerable groups?
Thank you, Hadia. I just want to comment on your last question about the cyber security. That while yes, I didn't mention that we need to have national, not just strategy. We have to have local softwares in each country, because if you just got your support from any other places, so you will definitely be more vulnerable as a place or as a country. But back to what Noha said, which is extremely, extremely important. We have legislations. We have legislation against cyber attacks or any attack through the internet or internet crimes or anything like that. But again, I don't think it is just legislation, because most of those vulnerable people, they don't even report when they got attacked, because we have cultural issues and we have awareness issues, and even the people who receive the reports, if they decided to report this violence, and we call it digital violence, and especially we've been talking, we had these 16 days for competing violence against women, and we've been talking about the digital violence, and women are one of the most vulnerable groups, as well as some, I don't know, religion-based groups based on the country, of course, children, even not just religion. There are some attacks or violence, digital violence against Black people in other countries. So we have an issue, and even with all the legislations that are already in place, we cannot stop it. People have to stop it themselves. And I think the awareness and the civil society role is extremely important in that, because if you just have the legislation and people don't report what is happening to them, or the people who is getting the reports are not sympathetic with the victim, and they are feeling that, well, this is not a real attack. In Egypt, we had some women, they took their lives away because of cyberbullying or a cyber blackmailing or things like that. So we have a real issue, and I don't think it's just in Egypt, it's everywhere. So the legislations alone will not be enough. We have already legislation in place in Egypt, and I think in a lot of countries, but still the attacks are there. And still we have the increased violence, as Noha said, and it's extremely, extremely important. And somehow it comes with the package, exactly like exposing our data. It comes with the package. You cannot get into the digital era without having these threats.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maha. And I was wondering here, because you mentioned, I think this is very important. You mentioned reporting abuse and reporting online bullying. And I think one of the problems lies in that people do not know where or how to report. And of course, I'm aware of those incidents where
yes, it's
we
awareness, as I told you, yeah.
Yes, awareness, of course, is crucial, but awareness is mainly crucial for people to understand. And we don't want to get into the cases of the women who actually took their lives. But honestly, when I heard about those incidents, I thought, if those ladies knew a little bit, like if they knew better, they would have never done so. And if the community also and the society was well aware that cyberbullying exists, and that many stories are just made up and are not real, also those women wouldn't have cared much about what has been posted about them and made them take their lives. However, again, the question is, do we have a place to which if someone is exposed to, is bullied online, they can go online and report it? Like, how easy is it to report abuse, and what channels can they report that abuse through?
Well, actually, if you're talking about Egypt, because I don't know about other countries, but in Egypt, there is a phone number you can call. Unfortunately, there isn't a portal to report on. This actually one of the suggestions I made in the parliament, but it didn't go through. But and in each police station, you can do so, and there is a hotline in the Women's Council. They take the reports of violence too against women specifically. But the Ministry of Interior has another hotline for reporting all the abuses over the internet, for women, for children, for men, for anyone, because anyone can get actually hacked or blackmailed online. It doesn't have to be a woman. Women are more vulnerable, but a lot of people actually have these issues. So there are ways to report. And I guess there are a lot of places now in or organizations from civil society who are trying to spread the message, because as you said, if those women knew better, they wouldn't commit suicide. And this is extremely sad. We have this burden on our shoulders that we didn't let them know. But we have to work all together to spread this information and to do the awareness in every country, not just in Egypt, because it's happening everywhere. Thank you.
We can also
Thank you
report
so
to
much.
the social media platforms
Haya.
themselves, so they can like suspend the account or take it off in parallel with the governmental reporters. So Hadia, now I have some questions for you. What are the primary risks and challenges associated with the quality bias and security of AI training data? And second question is how do these factors impact the ethical deployment and effectiveness of AI systems?
Hey, thank you, Noha. And so again, privacy and data protection are among the key risks accompanying digital innovation. Services and applications using IoT and AI depend mainly on collecting and processing huge amounts of personal data, which raises privacy concerns. But it also, in addition, of course, failure to comply with data protection regulations could result in large legal penalties. So it's both ways, you know. It's but let me speak specifically about the risks associated with the quality of data. So bias in AI applications and systems happens when outcomes of AI systems favor or disadvantage a certain group or favors certain outcomes or favors certain individuals. This bias can result in decisions and unfair treatment depending on the field in which the AI system is deployed. So examples could include random security screenings, and a lot of us, you know, face this at airports where you're, you know, a specific ethical group or are always selected for this random security screening. It affects employment opportunities, even job search results. It could unequal treatment in legal or medical systems, and this is all because of the data that it's used in training the AI systems. So data used in training AI systems. Or many AI systems, let's not say all, but many AI systems use historical data that reflects past human decisions, behaviors. So if the data contains some kind of prejudice or biases or is taken only based on a is not diversified, the AI will inherit and replicate those biases in the decision-making process. And the other thing also that comes to my mind here is, so after the decision also is made, how do you know what this decision was made on and what data was used for that? So it's also about transparency and accountability, right? And this human prejudice can be intentional or unintentional. So it doesn't really matter whether it's intentional or unintentional, but there should be a way in which we do not have those flawed training data, and there should be some kind of transparency and accountability also associated with this. So addressing those issues, of course, are crucial for fairness, accountability, and transparency in AI applications. If we talk about security risks associated with AI, so AI usually uses vast data sets that may contain sensitive personal information. So improper handling of this data can lead to harmful consequences. Also, data could be, from a security point of harmful or misleading data could be injected into the training process, corrupting the AI models and performance and causing unintended behaviors. So those are all risks associated with the bias in quality of data. And so Noha, the floor is yours. And
Thank you, Hadi. I would like to ask our audience if they
So-
have any questions to any of the speakers. I
I
don't see any
let's
questions from the online audience. Okay, I guess we can move on and leave the Q&A section at the end of the session. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask Dr. Maha about, so she was, Dr. Maha was speaking about reporting cyberbullying. And I was wondering if there is like a single platform at a national level that people could report cyberbullying through. And I know that there are some countries have those like platforms or single platform to report cyberbullying. That's one of the questions. And the other is to all the speakers, and the same question will go also to Caleb. And then the other question is related to international frameworks, and through which also people can report online incidents. And maybe if we take, for example, DNS abuse, and online security of users, do we have like sites through which we could report this? And of course, we can report directly to the services as directly as Noha mentioned. So I will give the floor to Dr. Maha and then Caleb and then Noha to discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you, Hadi. As I said earlier, there is no platform, single platform. As I said, I suggested that to have something like that, and the reporting should be online, as it is all online crimes, but it didn't go through. So unfortunately, in Egypt, we don't have this single platform to report. And the reporting is a process, as I explained earlier. And internationally, I think there is nothing except what Noha said, than reporting to Facebook specifically, or Instagram specifically, to mainly specific, not platforms, but the applications itself. You can just report what happened to you, or report the account, or report a specific person, something like that. But I'm not aware of anything else, unfortunately.
Caleb?
Thank you very much. So one of the ways I'm thinking about this is, first of all, every human right that is physical is also the same thing online, which means that if I harass you, just in context, not that I'm harassing anyone, take, for example, if Mr. A harasses someone, harasses Mrs. B, when they are not online, the same rule should apply to when the they are online. Therefore, if you look at it, that what platforms or how should the reporting be done? The first instance is, does the person being harassed know they are right? Do they know that they are being harassed? Do they know how they can be protected if they report some of these issues? So one of the issues that I have with the online reporting is the anonymity, is the fact that most people who report online are not even sure that that if they report online, they will get the necessary protection that they deserve. Some of them also do not know that if they report online, actions will be taken, right? So that fear is also there, despite the fact that some of them might even have the information, they have the training, the digital literacy, like Noah and Dr. mentioned, right? Now, the question now leads us to, how do we start all of this reporting and all of that? I'll give you an example of some of the context in my own country, Nigeria, and some of the abuses that has happened with regulatory frameworks. Even though there are regulatory frameworks that protect women, that protect the vulnerable, or those who are exploited online. We realize that the political class is beginning to exploit the Cyber Crime Act, which encompasses some of the laws and acts that needs to protect those vulnerable people. Take, for example, someone who feels that he has so much power, instead of saying that they want to protect the vulnerable, they will rather tell the vulnerable person who is complaining and not really harassing them online, and say that you are harassing me online, and then they use the powers of the police to get that person arrested, thrown in jail, and all of that. So we've seen lots of abuses, even by some of our political classes, and I feel that these are issues that we need to bring to the forefront. These are conversations that we should not stop talking about, even at this political sense, that the vulnerable needs to be protected by the law, not the political class only. And then we find out that even our police are, in a way, respectfully to our law enforcement agencies, are trying to choose who they prosecute when some of those issues are reported. So, do we have justice for those who are vulnerable? Do we have justice for those women that we are talking about? So these are questions that I would probably want us to go back and have a second thought about, as I see that we have someone who has raised his or her hand to ask a question. So I would just let the floor over to you, online moderators, and
Noha, over to you, Noha.
Yeah, thank you, Hadia. I guess there's, as mentioned by Dr. Maha and Caleb, there is a lack of trust with the reporting mechanisms, and also a culture barrier when it comes to, like, victims can sometimes feel ashamed of reporting the incidents or the attacks, and instead they go silent about it. They are ashamed of their communities, or how will people talk about them, or whatever. But we need to break this barrier, this culture barrier, and stop victimizing the attackers. Um, I guess we saw many incidents in Egypt, as Dr. Ma highlighted, where young women and even teenagers took their lives and suicided. So we need to be like stand in solidarity with all victims, with all online victims of cyber attacks, and stop attacking them again online, because sometimes when you report an incident, people will start to comment with hate speech, or share like their negative comments. So um, sometimes even victims, they like took back their reports, and to avoid all of this hassle. So yeah, it's we need to look at it from a 360 view, putting the good legislation, trust the process, um, awareness, civil society to lead the awareness part, and internet users to be more responsible when using the technology, because technology is here to help us. So we need to like uh, use the good part of it and um, report the bad part of it. And that's it for me. Thank you. Back to you, Hadia.
Thank you. And I see Mariam has her hand up. So, Mariam, do you want to take the floor?
Yes, hello, Hadia. Hello, everyone. I like how the conversation is really going, because it boils out to the human rights and what each and every person has to feel comfortable, safe, and empowered online and offline. I second what Noha and MP Maha have been saying. And I really think the civil society should be should be moving this concern forward. In Egypt, we have multiple successful initiatives, whether initiated for the betterment or for the safety of women or vulnerable women to address their issues, or just the different groups and different rights. And we have many, from women harassment, for example, to even first responders in terms of crisis, like the eSIM card and all the eSIM activity. And even women harassment, we had very successful initiatives. And all those initiatives has attracted the politics or the government. They looked closely at those initiatives, and they let them grow, and those initiatives had the opportunity to grow because they had the people's support and the people's momentum. People in Egypt were lacking, for women, for example, women in Egypt lacked the opportunity to feel safe, and to feel safe in reporting, and to speak up when any sort of abuse happens. And the trust was not there. But the trust started building when those campaigns and when those initiatives took momentum. And they did not took momentum on the ground. Social media was a very strong tool. WhatsApp, for example, chatting tools were very strong. That supported such mechanisms. So when it starts in the grassroots organizations or with civil society, and then it will move forward, I think this is a good thing to start the momentum. So civil society I think, comes first at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And indeed, civil society has a big role and in leading the way when it comes to online awareness, when it comes to online awareness processes. And I would like to turn to Dr. Maha now and ask her about first, are there practical strategies and frameworks for effectively managing and mitigating the risks that we have been talking about? And is it doable to have practical strategies and frameworks for that? And do we have such frameworks to mitigate online risks? And not necessarily rules or regulations.
Well, actually, if we're talking about frameworks, I'm not the person who should be answering. Should be the government or the executive body. We have a lot of strategies in Egypt. We have a strategy for the cybersecurity. We have a strategy for the digital innovation. We have a strategy for AI. I still don't see the real implementation of those strategies. A strategy is a very nice word. You can write very nice things, but when it comes to implementation, it needs a lot. to be seen actually on the ground. We are still far behind in a lot of things, especially if you are talking about cybersecurity. I know that the government is taking it very seriously, but still, we don't have the on-ground activities that needed to deal with cybersecurity. For the AI, we are definitely far behind. There are no incentives for SMEs or startups or any innovators who could work in the AI, which is extremely important and needed. You can find, fragmented initiatives and people are working on themselves, but there is no structured work concerning these things. And I think it's extremely needed now. This is my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maha. And you mentioned AI, so I will go back to AI. And indeed, artificial intelligence has the power to transform businesses and is important for governments to perform more effective and to be more effective and perform more efficiently. And that applies not only to governments, but to all forms of businesses. And that gets me back to the question of frameworks. And maybe what's required is for organizations and entities to establish clear principles for their responsible use of AI. So any organization or entity that's using AI will need to define guiding principles for using AI and commit and adhere to those principles defined. So those could be principles related to accuracy, accountability, fairness, safety, ethical responsibilities that would be established and published by organizations or entities using artificial intelligence. And again, we go back to as you started, Dr. Maha, by saying that we cannot, technology is now part of our life, and we have this dependency that's not going away. It will only increase. And humans and machines have always been working together. And moving forward with AI, this is also what's going to happen, or is supposed maybe to happen. And so since the very early human history, would say, so people were using carts, and then they're using machines in agriculture, and then this keeps on moving, and then computers, and then mobiles, and then so it has always been humans and machines. But it's again, how do we do that? And
yeah, we have
Noha, yes,
one
I will give you.
intervention from
Yes.
the on-site audience and another one from the online audience. So, yeah, please.
Go ahead, Noha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. It's a very insightful discussion. Thank you, Dr. Maha. Thank you, Noha, and particularly Hadia. Actually, I'm coming from a technical community, so I'm a security researcher. I actually know the other side problems, the one who is creating these problems. So I can actually give some insights on that. So I'm running this organization, Secure Purple, and we are doing, our focus was actually on the end users' safety, so particularly women and kids. We've been very active in that. We arrange, workshops, trainings, awareness in different regions in Pakistan. I'm from Pakistan, basically. So, but normally in our trainings and workshop, what we used to do is to train the women and kids because they're the most vulnerable part of the internet, and particularly on image-based abuse, particularly on cyberbullying and stuff like that. So what we did, used to do was to train them how to stay protected from these kind of threats. And one of the recommendation we used to do was never, share different or questionable or maybe indecent pictures of yours. Maybe if you are in online relationship or normally or anywhere over the internet, because that was the main cause of, creating or maybe, give a rise to image-based abuse. But no, I'm actually in doubt of that recommendation, because with AI now, you can create any sort of content with just a singular image. So now I'm thinking, what's the next step, And I'll give you statistics actually. There's an organization, Sensity AI, and they've been tracking the deep fakes since 2015. And they have give the statistic that 95% of the deepfakes are actually non-consensual porn. So imagine the deepfake, a huge technology coming up, and the 95% of its consumption is actually on the non-consensual porn. I mean, what would be the amount of the image-based abuse? What would be the morality and the social structure of the society if there is so much content, questionable content, producing daily just using AI? So I mean, it's a lot of discussion. I mean, I can quite add up to every insights the speakers have shared, but due to time limitations, I would just say, we just need to identify every single stakeholders of the internet, and we just need to reach them out. For example, on reporting, even if I report, the reputation damage it costs to me, the virality the video, gets, it all, I mean, the damage has been done, I know, yeah, accountability is necessary, but still, particularly for women, the reputation is gone, the damage has been done. They might not get able to get a job. There have been cases we dealt with where actually, people get divorces just because of a single image getting public. That might be an indecent picture, but still, the impact is too much. Legislations or rules. I mean, coming from a technical sides, I can get away with these stuff. The anonymity internet give me. I can create a fake Facebook account with a fake email, with a fake phone number. Who you gonna trace me? So I mean, there's a lot more, to still consider in the internet space. And I'm still, I mean, we even from the technical end, we still confused. I mean, how do we deal with it? And it may take time to evolve. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the very realistic and on-ground intervention. Hadi, I guess we have Musa Turai has a raised hand, as well as Caleb.
And we need to conclude. People are waiting outside, by the way.
We have till 12:45. So yeah. No.
Yeah. Let me just quickly jump in because of time. So reacting to the last speaker, one of the few things that I think I observe is he asks a question about the conscious effort of even the technology organizations such as that own AI infrastructures, right? What are the conscious efforts that they are putting into making sure that there are no abuses on some of these AI generated items that come online that could become viral? Now, one of the things I know that Meta does is that Meta allows you to be able to flag AI generated content. And because you're able to flag that, it kind of in a way reduces the virality of that. But one of the things that I'm not sure of is that if other social media platforms are beginning to follow or toe in line and have some form of governance board, accountability board that also helps review some of these things and some of the accounts that they have. At least I'm aware that Facebook is making conscious effort on that, but I'm not sure about X. I'm not sure about Blue Sky. I'm not sure about other ones. But it would be a very interesting thing to see that they are taking conscious efforts to make sure that they are able to flag AI generated contents such that those AI generated contents do not become viral. And one of the things that I also like to see is that for AI-generated content, there should be meta tags that indicate within the images that are generated within those contents to indicate that these are AI content, and there should be like a global standard that allows for those kind of meta tagging of AI-generated content, even from any platform. Yeah, thanks. That's my quick intervention to the last speaker. Thanks.
Thank you, Caleb. We had a raised hand from Musa. Okay. Thank you, Musa. Hadi, are you still there? Okay. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was disconnected for a few moments, but I'm back again. And I wanted to ask Dr. Maha, after hearing what Caleb said, how could we require tech platforms to take responsibility for abusive content? So is this possible, and how could we actually put it in action?
Well, yes, definitely, yes. We have to put them responsible for abusive content, and actually they can do that. They have the resources, they have the tools, and we've been seeing what they have been doing. For instance, during the what was happening in Gaza and the conflict, they could have taken down all the content that they thought it's not right from their point of view. They were biased. They were not neutral. So they can do whatever they want. So they should be responsible for taking any abusive content, hate speech, all these kind of things. Again, I didn't answer your question about the framework for AI. It's ongoing debate between having an AI framework or legislation. I think we all know that the EU already has or had an act, and it's not working. Most of the countries from the European Union are not working with these acts, and I guess mainly France, who tried to work with the act, and it didn't work out. So we've been thinking that a framework could be more realistic, taking into consideration the huge action and speed in the AI, which is moving almost every day and changing every day. So a legislation could be a little bit not good for this, but we are still, because we have actually proposed legislation in the parliament for the AI, and we are waiting to see what will happen in that. But still, either legislation or framework, we have to have something to specify the ethics, the what should be done, the responsibility, and it's extremely difficult if something happened with a self-driving car with the software, and it killed a person. Who is responsible? And I'm a policymaker or legislator. I cannot say who could be responsible. Am I going to put the man who made the program in prison, or the car? So it's you can do nothing about that. You will just try to make as much as precautions, but it will be never ever enough, and we will always have this kind of things. And I'm talking about the self-driving car because it's already there. It's happening, but we are hearing about the avatars. So you can have your avatar go and have do a murder somewhere and no one can go back on you. And it's and the VR and a lot. Actually, thank you very much for what you said, because it's almost impossible. I think well, the ones from you who saw Black Mirror, I think we are in the Black Mirror era, and we don't know what will happen after that. Thank you, Hadi.
Thank you so much. And if no one from the ground wants to make an intervention now, or
have a
Noha, if
raised
you want to make it.
hand. Yeah, we
Okay.
have a raised hand here.
Can you hear me?
We hear
Put
you.
this one up. Thank you so much. My name is Lisa Vermeer. I'm from the Netherlands. I work as a policymaker in Holland. Thank you so much for this interesting discussion. I wanted to share one thing with you and also ask a question related to the innovation part of this session. So the first thing I wanted to share is that I work on the European AI Act in the Netherlands. It's quite a new law. And at the moment, all the member states are working to really transition it into their own legislative systems. So this is quite a challenge, but I'm still hopeful that it will work. And maybe related to the discussion about abusive content and about deepfakes and the problems that arise in that, there are provisions in the European AI Act that try to address this issue. And personally, I find it very exciting to see whether it's going to work or not, because there are provisions that state that it has to be made clear by the developer of, for example, deepfakes, that it is AI generated and manipulated. And it also needs to be machine readable, and also for users of the internet, it needs to be recognizable that it's generated or manipulated content. So maybe that can help, but on the other hand, of course, there's lots of actors who make this content and their intention is to do harm. So in that sense, the law is always limited to what extent it will help. But at least it gives some kind of power to legislators in the EU to enforce and address when things are going wrong. So and I wanted to ask, in what kind, maybe to you, Dr. Maha, and to the speaker online, Caleb, to what extent do you think that the risk that you mentioned in your presentations hamper the entrepreneurial spirit of people, of SMEs, for example, in your countries? I'm very eager to hear whether, for example, female entrepreneurs are really stopped by the abusive practices they experience online, or whether they still have, for example, in Nigeria, that SMEs are still going on and not being limited too much by this abuse of the law, for example. So thank you in advance for shedding some light on the innovation ecosystems in your countries. Thanks so much.
Dr. Maha and then Caleb, if about the innovation part.
Shall we take the other question, or?
I think you can take all the questions and we can answer everything together.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb, and thank you for the excellent interventions. I really enjoyed it much. My name is Amr Hashim. I am a member of Internet Masr, and it was quite enlightening listening to all those interventions. But let me share with you, because we have always been thinking of the risks. But let me share with you a story that happens maybe 5 centuries ago. And it has costed this part of the world that we are living in, the Arab world, a lot over those 500 years, because they were afraid to adopt innovation that was coming up at this point in time, which was printing. They were afraid that through printers and through printing, the Quran, which is the holy book for the Muslims worldwide, could be forged, and it could not be accurate as the handwritten Quran. So actually, the Sultan back then, Bayezid II, decided that he is forbidding printing to be deployed throughout the Islamic world that was controlled by the Ottoman Empire back then, because they were afraid of the challenges and the risks associated with printing. So if we are reflecting today on what is happening with technology and innovation, let us please not consider the risks as much as we are considering the opportunities that could be that could AI be opening to us. And if we are afraid of deep fakes or something that happened, let us, instead of thinking about forbidding it, because at the end of the day, we cannot forbid it. The people who want to do deep faking or something like that will have access to the resources and will do it anyways. But let us think about counter technologies that would help us to make this a reality and to actually get the good part without the bad part. Thank you, and looking forward to hear your comments on that.
Thank you, Amr, for the positive note.
Thank you. Yeah. I also wanted to say something about what Amr, this is Hadia. So I wanted to just point out something about what Amr just said. So what happened really that is Quran spread faster with the printing, and instead more people could read it. And also now with the internet and having everything online, you can just go on your mobile and read it. So it turned out that it was even better for the spreading of the holy book. And I just before I know you had a question with regard to innovation, and I had one also in regard to innovation. So I would pose the question so that you can answer both together. And the question is related to the establishment of collaborative platforms. Like, how can policy makers facilitate the establishment of collaborative platform for the exchange of insights among peers and experts in the field of digital innovation and risk management, of course. So I will stop here. And Noha, do you want to give the floor to Dr. Maha and then maybe Caleb?
Yeah, sure, Dr.
Okay, I will start by answering your question. Well, actually, the female entrepreneurs, no, they are still working, and the innovators, the female innovators, I don't think that they can be stopped easily by any cyberbullying or cyber attacks or things like that. Because they are entrepreneurs and they are in the innovation business, and there are measures actually, and there are things that they can use or they can get them to help them. And as Mariam said in the intervention, actually there are still problems, but there are a lot of initiatives actually which is somehow helping, especially women in this area. Commenting on what you said, Amr, there is nothing can be stopped anywhere. We are not talking about stopping anything. If we are a bit worried or afraid or seeing the risks, we definitely see the opportunities and the and what AI can be helpful in. It is just we need to be careful. We need to see the challenges and to address the challenges. And as you said, go to the find counter technologies to work with that. But it's moving extremely fast. And I think this is what is frightening. It's not just worrying. It's even for us who are working in the technology field and in the digital field, but we think this is, it's moving extremely fast. That's all what I can say. As for your question, Hadia, it is not again the policymakers who can do or who can work with the collaborative platforms. It's the executive bodies, and there is nothing that can prevent this from happening. It is just the problem of collaboration anyway, any kind of collaboration, and unfortunately we are talking about digital collaboration, but everything goes back to politics. And as one who is working in politics, I can tell you that it's not easy, because to get the data flow in Africa, it has to have a political will to do this, to have a platform, joint platform to work with between countries. It has to have political will, and it is a political decision. It's not a digital decision, and it's not from the policymakers or from the legislators. It's from the executive bodies and the governments. I guess, and we can give them our ideas, our thoughts, and try to push them to do so, because I think we need to do this, especially in Africa, in the Middle East, in the Arab world. We need to collaborate together. We need to cooperate together and to work together to get things done. As I think that no country can do it on its own. It's now beyond the countries. We need really to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maha and Noha. I see a hand from the floor. I just had a follow-up for Dr. Maha, but maybe I can just pose the question and move to Noha, and then Dr. Maha can answer later. And the question is, how do those bodies, executive bodies, work together in order to exchange insights in the field of digital innovation and risk management? How do they coordinate? I will pause here, Noha, and give you the floor to manage the queue.
Thank you, Hadia. We have a raised hand from our online audience. Musa, do you want to take the floor? Or maybe share your questions in the chat?
Yeah,
hello, are you listening?
You raise your voice a bit, please.
Hello, are you listening? Hello,
We
can
can,
hear
but
you.
you're
Please go ahead.
cutting.
Yep.
are you listening now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Musa from Nigeria. I'm a student here in Malaysia, at Bukhara International University. I would like to make a contribution regarding what the former speaker has said about collaboration between the bodies. I think that is the strongest way to deal with issue of insecurity.
Sorry, Musa, the voice quality is not good. Can you try to raise your voice, please, or post your questions in the chat?
Are you listening now?
Yeah. Okay, please proceed.
Yeah, I want to make a suggestion and contribution towards the former speaker has said about a collaboration between the bodies and between the bodies. I think that is the perfect way to change to do away with insecurity in Africa, because like back there in my country there is an incident that's just going on. Whenever you post something something bad about a government personnel, like a politician in the country, it is very easy for the government to trace you and get you, and like they will trace you and get you and deal with you regarding the issue, regarding the problem, the issue you cause. But like for the insecurity in society, I don't know what's the kind of technology are they using to trace the person that posts in the social media against a politician, and the kind of technology they use to trace like the bandits and the other people that cause insecurity in society. So I think there must be a collaboration. The government and the government and the leg should come together and both they should come together and trust each other so that we'll do away with all this kind of insecurity, and that's what I wanted to.
Musa was emphasizing on the importance of collaboration between the government and other bodies to facilitate the reporting mechanism or finding the attackers. Yeah, Maha, you have a comment?
No, I guess he was talking about who anyone who can post anything against the government or against
So
someone
can be
from the
easily
politicians can be easily caught. And
Okay,
and trust me, Musa, it's not just Nigeria. It's in, in a
all
lot
over
of places.
Africa.
Yeah, it's I guess yes, all across Africa and some other countries too. We we don't want to specify. And I don't think that this is what we need the governments to be collaborating in. We need the governments to be collaborating in doing, in trying to make the internet a safer place. And for the what your question, Hadia, it's I don't know how they can do that. It's their job to cooperate. They can easily, in a place like this, in the IGF, in other forums, the officials from different countries, they can sit together and agree on a way of cooperation. They can agree on having a unified platform for reporting the abuse, for instance, or doing things, helping to get each others in approaching safer place in the internet for all vulnerable groups. So it's doable. It is just as I mentioned before. It needs a political will. It needs them to be really wanting that and feeling the importance of this cooperation and collaboration, which I don't think is happening right now across Africa so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maha. I saw Caleb, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment on the lady who did asked a direct question to me about how we encourage women-owned SMEs when it comes to innovation and risk management. So I just wanted to mention something that first of all, with respect to my male gender, I would say that women are the best money managers, right? And we need to give them their flowers when it comes to that. So why am I saying that? It means that women are actually the ones who power the underground of the economy that we have even globally. Trust me, women are always the ones at the marketplace, which makes them even more exposed and vulnerable. And I'll take it back to how we can encourage women SMEs when it comes to around innovation and risk. First thing that I see is that the system itself is very biased against them when it comes to funding and supporting women such that they can innovate, such that they can expand businesses, make it more scalable. They are even more exposed to risk than even the male gender themselves. So I would say that they don't have the same access to funding like their male counterpart, and so it limits their ability to want to scale and innovate some of the ideas that they have. Even I haven't seen so many women, female innovators when it comes to AI. I've always seen a lot of male, right? Why is it that the percentage of women are lower than those of men? So I'd like to see, in my own view, responding to what the question that was thrown directly at me earlier on, to see that more women are actually supported when it comes to networking, funding, mentorship, and even risk management, as well as capacity training to help them have that. And then government should be conscious about having inclusive funding strategy or procurement to support women and those who are disabled, at least have certain percentage for them. I'm aware of that is being done in Kenya, that at least about 30% of government procurement are given towards women, those with disability, and a couple of other criteria. But I feel that more can be done. So that's just my little intervention to the question that was thrown by the lady in red. I couldn't pick her name when she asked the question. Yeah. My apologies on that, please.
Thank you, Caleb, for responding and for being a good ally for women empowerment. We need to wrap up, but there is one raised hand here from the on-site audience. Razan, you have, please, in less than 1 minute.
I'm Razan Zakaria from Egypt. I'm a BIAG ambassador and I'm a content creator. You talked about the collaboration with the government, and I saw that the most important to collaborate with the owners, platform owners like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, because they already have a social media platforms that you can say that control on our minds and use algorithm sometimes to control in our point of view. And as a content creator, when I want to share my point of view, especially in the politics topics, that I see that algorithm that's forbidding me to share my point of view and consider it as a hated speech or something like this, especially that's related to the war in Gaza, and we said it at the last year. And we already we have some tricks like put symbols like a watermelon or put a dots between the words, but we really at the IUS we don't have a freedom to share our points of view, and it's a foreign platform. So and this owners have a background with a politics thoughts, and they manage on our sharing of our point of view. So this is my issue actually.
Thank you, Razan.
Wow.
So yeah, everyone has a hidden agenda, and it's good that we're trying to trick the algorithms. Dr. Maha, do you have any comments? And please
And
add your closing remarks because we need to wrap up.
Okay, thank you, Razan. As I said earlier, you can do nothing about it because they own these platforms, and whatever we tell them, actually we talk to them directly, and they claim that they don't do that, but we know very well that they are doing that, and there is nothing we can do about it, except tricking them, as you said, and they couldn't do anything about it. So we could manage somehow. As a closing remark, I think I will close with the positive note from Amr that the technology, despite of all the facts that we've been talking about the threats, the risks, the challenges, but we should look at the opportunities, and we should think what could be the world without technology. It's completely different world. And I don't think that we can do anything without technology anymore. So this is the end of it. We have to live with it, even if we had to sacrifice some of our, let's say, yeah, not just conventional way, sacrifice our some kinds of freedom or our data. I don't think that the privacy, we will have to sacrifice our privacy somehow, or at least percentage of it, to be into this world. And I think we will have to be okay with it because this is the new future.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Maha. Caleb, please, in 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Can
so
you please give
I'll just
us your
quickly wrap
closing-
up. Yeah, thank you. I'll just quickly wrap up with this. I see a lot of issues around the fact that we don't have most of our people, even women, are participating a lot in governance, which means they don't have a voice that advocates for them at that point in time. And when it comes to innovation and risk issues. So here's what I will say. According to the great philosopher that says, if you fail to participate in governance, you end up being governed by imbeciles. When you're being governed by imbeciles, they make the wrong rules and wrong regulations. We are grateful for the fact that we have people like Dr. Maha, who happens to be participating in governance actively in our local environment. And so we want to encourage that we have more women who will advocate for things that that pertains to risk and innovation for women innovation. So that's just my quick wrap up at this time. Participate actively in government so we won't be governed by imbeciles. If you are not given a seat at the table, clear the table, bring a seat from your house and sit at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. Hadia, your turn.
Okay, I
closing
thank you so much, Noha. And I just wanted to comment on what Roseanne just said. So the example she just mentioned is a clear example of how platforms can actually hinder creative, can hinder innovation, and as they do hinder controversial expressions. So this is a clear example of how platforms could disencourage creative content as they disencourage controversial expressions. And again, this goes back to the principles that we were talking about, and how entities, organizations, platforms should actually have their AI principles published, and they should abide and adhere to those principles. And I would just quickly point out some of the things mentioned today, or the statements mentioned today. Those include empowering legislators, civil society leading when it comes to raising awareness, agreeing to cooperate, whether it is with regard to having unified platforms for reporting online, or whether it's for sharing insights and expertise in the field of digital innovation, in investing in alternative offline systems for critical infrastructure, and alternative maybe community developed systems and softwares. So those are like some of the points. Yeah, I give you the. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know we are. Yeah, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
for
Hadi, for
this.
organizing this session. And thank you. I would like to thank the online and on-site audience for attending and for staying for the whole session for the 90 minutes. And with this, I close the session. Thank you, everyone.